Oona Chaplin, what an honor it is to have you here on my film podcast. And I reached out to Disney specifically because I was like, I have to have Oona on to talk about one of my favorite performances of the year, Varang in Avatar: Fire and Ash, which is just, I mean, the internet is all over the character and performance. Everyone's talking about it. It's one of the greatest performances I've seen in a long time. And I had Sam Worthington in this chair back in November because I really wanted to people to understand performance capture and kind of what that means and kind of how it is performance, it is acting. We're going to dive all into that. But how are you doing today?
I'm really good. Yeah, it's a pleasure to be with you. I watched Sam's one. I watched Jim's one as well. So thanks for having me on. It's it's lovely. I haven't done like a long form like this yet, so I'm really like pleased.
Well, I'm looking forward to doing
for
this.
Me on.
Oh, thank you. And so obviously you saw the Sam one. So the opening of that interview and every interview I generally do is I try to talk about the pivotal experience of the communal theatrical cinematic experience that we all love and know. And obviously with Avatar: Fire and Ash, the movie's already made over $1 billion. There have been a lot of people who have sat in theaters with strangers experiencing this incredible film and this incredible story. I know you grew up in a family of cinema, but growing up, do you remember the theatrical film that was kind of the pivotal one for you, where you understood the power of movie theaters and kind of what it can do to bring people together?
I was thinking about this, and I can't pinpoint one specific one. And for me, I grew up in like the culture of filmmaking. Like I would go off to set to, Sri Lanka to see my mom doing, Mother Teresa, or like I'd go to like Morocco and, watch her kind of filming the, biblical stuff that she did with Hallmark. And then, so it was more that piece for me, like the making of the storytelling, the craft of storytelling, which for me in my life has been, everything is a story, right? You make breakfast, it can be a story. It's like everything, if you see it like that, things that are a lot more meaning, they kind of take on a new meaning. And watching her, work and study her lines and work on her character and pace around the living room, reciting her lines, and that concentration that she had. It was more that piece for me, like the craft of storytelling, the craft of embodying somebody else or telling a story that might shift your own perspective of how you see life, So that was more the flavor for me that really did it. It's the craft of storytelling.
And we have to mention, your mom is Geraldine Chaplin, like one of the most legendary actors of all time. And we're talking Dr. Zhivago. I mean, like amazing. But
Remember My Name, Nashville. She was the most annoying BBC journalist in the world in Nashville. Yeah, she's a beast. She's a force to be reckoned with, and she's a very, very gifted actress. But more even beyond that is like people that have met her love her. Like I've had conversations with journalists on this press tour for Avatar that have said to me like, "Oh my God, I met your mom," and like there's one guy from Brazil. He like welled up. He's like, "I love her so much." Like people love her because she is such an artist, and she has such a presence, and she has so much humility, and she's like a 4-wheel drive, but she's just elegant as well. So it's amazing. She's a beast.
But as you were growing up, though, and you were going to those sets, I mean, and your dad, Patricio, who is a cinematographer as well, let's give him some credit too, because
for sure.
You were just saying something off camera about this. So they met at a time, and he was a cinematographer. Your mother was obviously a very successful actor, and so that connection, and then he ended up kind of like staying home and kind of like being like the stay-at-home father in a way.
Yeah, for sure. They actually met on a film set that my dad did a film with Gabriel Garcia Marquez script called La Viuda de Montiel, and it was shot in Mexico. And my dad was hired by the director that was a friend of his, and he said, "Oh, Geraldine Chaplin's going to be playing the lead role." He was like, "What? No way! A gringa playing this role?" Because my dad's from Chile. And he's like, this is a Latin American, this is a South American story. How are we going to get a gringo to play this part? He was outraged. And so they said, okay, yes, absolutely. So he called him, he got a call back a couple of weeks later, and then he was like, oh yeah, no, so we got someone else to do it. We're getting this really amazing actress, this South American actress, all this stuff. And then my dad arrives on set, and he's like, you know, he was living in Cuba at the time, flew to Mexico, which wasn't a normal, like it was like once every couple of weeks or something, a flight there. And he gets there to the, you know, beautiful like jungle in Veracruz, and he's meeting his grip, and the first thing that they say to him is like, have you met Geraldine Chaplin yet? And he's like, what?
That's like his source of frustration at this moment.
He's like, what? I thought that we'd recast. What is happening? I'm here under false pretenses. And then he saw her. And then he was helpless.
Yeah.
And then they made a life together, and they were both working a lot. You know, they're both really hardworking people, but it was just unsustainable for their relationship. So my mom basically said to him, "You gotta quit."
Wow.
And so he became her everything. He became the person that sews the little holes in her socks, and the person that fluffs the pillows, and the person that organizes breakfast and does the food shops and reads the scripts. All of the things. He basically is like the engine, the conductor, the everything of the home. And my mom's just like so spoiled.
I love how you joke that your house is well lit.
My house is very well lit.
Yeah.
As a DOP's daughter, it's like it's everything. All the corners are lit. It's great.
So I guess that leads me down this path of like, obviously, if you're going to these sets and you're growing up in this environment, when does it click for you? Like your love of movies and want to go into this field? Because when you're younger, maybe you're still figuring out what you want to do with your life, and then you start seeing these incredible things that your parents do and they were doing in the world. When did it click for you? You were like, did you see a performance of your mom's or a performance in a film where you were like, that's what I'm going to do? Not just because my parents are in the industry. That's where my heart lies too.
Right. Yeah. It was actually, I was in a school play at 15. And because I always loved, like, we watched my grandfather's films all the time, and I always loved him so much. Like the film, they were always like my happy place to watch.
Charlie Chaplin. Listening, yeah.
just him.
Just in case you don't know.
Just him. But, you know, I was always mad about watching his films and just the beauty of it, but I just never wanted to do it because, you know, everybody in my family is in it, and it just felt like something that was such an easy thing, but also really hard. And what if I'm not as good? And what if I'm not, you know, what if I don't like do what my mother did or what my grandfather did? And like, you know, what if I let them down? And so I always really, really resisted it. But then I was in a school play, and I played Bottom in Midsummer Night's Dream. And then I got off the stage the first night, and I just bawled my eyes out. And I was like, oh God, it got me. The bug bit me, and now I love it because it's just so much fun. Like the energy that you get on stage, and I mean when you're doing, and then it was like a struggle and a wrestle really, for a long time. But then, you know, I quit acting for like, you know, every couple of weeks for 18 years.
Really?
And then I realized how foolish that was. What enormous waste of energy that was, because I really love it. I love telling stories.
Psychologically, do you think you were still pushing back?
Yeah, absolutely.
That's interesting. Because so you got the high from the play.
Yeah.
And then you wanted to continue chasing that.
Yeah.
And then your brain
like,
was going, no, let's resist because my family's already been doing this. What if I'm not as good?
Yeah. Absolutely.
And you still go through that over the years.
Yeah,
wow.
for many, many years. Until like, I think probably in my late 20s, so like 10 years in, I suddenly realized what an enormous waste of time that was, and what a waste of energy and that was. And there was a lot of pieces in my life where I had to go, oh, I just need to shift from like guilt to gratitude. I need to shift from like not feeling like I deserve the doors that are flinging open because of my name. And really become very responsible about how I walk through those doors, and then just work my butt off, you know, and try and understand something more about what it is to be a human being with every story that I tell, and then be kind to people, you know, and that's really all that I can do. And then obviously, you know, for me, I had to go like, okay, I'm never going to do what they did. And thank God, because it would be a terrible tragedy if I tried to, but all I can do is what I do, and if I can point my finger and say, like, look at how amazing my grandfather was, or like somebody watching this podcast goes, Charlie who, and then like Googles him and watches a film of his,
and
that,
something,
that would be amazing for me. That's like that's a good purpose. That's a way for me to honor their legacy without having to put pressure on, kind of like trying to be excellent or a genius or anything like that, because that's just I'm just doing what I have to do in the moment.
No, you really have made your own path, and this conversation is going to be very focused on the decisions that you made to bring your characters to life. Varang, obviously, specifically because we're talking about Avatar, Fire, and Ash, but there's so much I want to talk about the physicality, the movement, the eyes, everything about it. Just one more quick question, because we were talking about your mother for a second. Dr. Zhivago is directed by David Lean, one of the greatest filmmakers in the history of movies. At what point in your life do you start asking your mom about the filmmakers she worked with? And because for me, James Cameron, on my ticket here is the date Terminator 2 opened in theaters, because that's the movie that changed my life. Like that movie was everything to me. So I would be asking anybody about James Cameron, working with James Cameron, what that would mean.
Yeah.
But your mom has worked with legendary filmmakers as well. Like, when did you start, or did you start asking her questions about those experiences?
I think my mom doesn't offer up a lot of stories, and so you really have to dig. And I think I started to, around like in my late 20s, I became very interested because I realized, oh my goodness, I moved out of my house when I was 15 years old, so I hadn't really lived with my mom for like almost half of my life.
When you were 15?
Yeah, I went to boarding school, and then I moved to, London, and so I was like, I just became insanely curious about her and how she experienced her life, and so I got to hear a lot of the stories, and, we lived in Madrid, which is where Dr. Zhivago was shot.
That's right.
And so then there was all of this history, like really in the bones of the place that we lived, and, talking about the Sierra Nevada and about, Omar Sharif as well, who was, my crush for many years.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's amazing to start digging with her.
Yeah, my wife and I were lucky to go see a 70 millimeter of Lawrence of Arabia recently, and that movie coming back to life. Speaking of David Lean, just like Dr. Zhivago and in that period of time, that those movies were this pure magic. I know your mom's not in Lawrence of Arabia, but I just wanted to mention that David Lean's legacy, it just lives on in cinema. And I'm like, this guy's powering up these two 70 millimeter projectors, and he's switching the reels back and forth. And I'm like,
wow.
It was 13 reels. It was like the cleanest print I'd ever seen in my life. But that movie came back to life in a timeless way, which is, I have to imagine, feels similar to you when you kind of maybe revisit some of your family's work.
Yeah,
they come back to life.
Well, then the good stories never get old, and that's something that's really curious to see, to go back and revisit films many, many years after they made an impact on you, and see how, like, your process of maturation might change the perspective that you can, appreciate them with, but ultimately the really, really good ones, they just keep giving and they keep getting richer.
Yeah.
And that's definitely. I haven't seen Lawrence of Arabia in a while. I'll be sure to watch that again. It's such a good one.
It's such a remarkable film,
Yeah.
and so let's transition into Varang, because this character. I'm trying to think of moments that I've been in a theater where a character has literally commanded my attention as much as your character does in this film. It's immediate. It's like you grab me and you pull me into the movie, and I have no other choice but to stick around and because I want to be in all of these moments with her, because there's this gleeful excitement that she has, but also obviously the intention of the character. And I also want to dive in later on, because I don't consider characters in this character particularly to be a villain. I think the word villain to me is too black and white. There's a gray area. There's a reason why Varang is doing what she's doing, and we'll dive into that. But one of the things I saw recently that blew my mind is you said in an interview that you listened to Slipknot when preparing for the role. I'm a big metalhead. I have a Slipknot.
Oh,
I have a Slipknot
you
tattoo.
and my husband both.
Yeah,
oh my God, look at
I have
that.
a Korn tattoo. It's like I'm obsessed. So Slipknot and Korn, those metal bands, and I don't know if this is just me because I've had ADHD and growing up, but metals calms me down.
Right.
It's like I can fall asleep listening to Slipknot. I know
Wow.
it sounds crazy, but so I don't understand. So how did the Slipknot thing come about? Why was that? Was that given to you? Did you seek it out? I know you talked about this a bit, but I'm just curious about the process of why that spoke
why
to
Slipknot?
Varang.
Oh
Yeah.
my goodness. Slipknot is something that I wasn't listening to at the time. But I talked to one of the guys who is a metalhead, who's one of the stunt guys, who's also called Spider, not Spider from the film, but is also Spider, and he's a very, very gifted stunt guy and walking animal, just very, very gifted and skilled. And he's a metalhead, and I was like, can you give me some recommendations? Because I feel like I need to tap into some like rage that I need help to access. And he was like, oh yeah, I mean, you know, and he just sent me a couple of songs in a text message, and I was like, okay.
Do you remember which songs it was?
Oh, you know, I wish I did. I can look at. I still have the playlist on my phone. I can look it up.
I want to know. I would love to know which, because I know all their music. I've seen them live 8 times, 9 times. So
Oh
I know.
my God, that's
I want to know
awesome.
which songs.
Okay, do you want it now? Or
Yes,
shall I,
I would
okay.
can we? We have now officially reset. Una has checked her phone.
My playlist.
We're getting the official Varang playlist here.
So Psychosocial, then Duality,
Yeah.
and then there was what's the one that I just said? Toxicity.
System of a Down.
System of a Down. I mean, there's a few more, but those are like I could never really, because this is the thing. I'm not a metalhead. Like, it's so hard for me to access. And through this process, I definitely learned to appreciate the orchestra, or like the symphonic nature of
Yes.
it. Like, musically, I grew to appreciate it. But it was not something that I would listen to outside of like the 10 minutes before set.
But so walk me through it, because for Psychosocial, I mean, I've seen that song live. I've seen them. I understand what you're saying, because the lyrics, especially Corey Taylor, who's the lead singer of the band, like there is a lot of rage in the music, but there's also a lot of catharsis as well and emotion. It's I mean, I love that band, but I also understand what you're saying, because especially with Slipknot, there's 9 band members, there's 3 drummers, there's 2 DJs, 2 guitar players. It's insane how it all kind of comes in sync, but the double bass and the pinch harmonics, all that stuff just kind of, there is a feeling that comes from that. What did that start to do to your mind about becoming her?
Well, that for me was the piece. I saw an interview, and I think I'm blanking now if it was Slipknot. Do they call their fans something?
Maggots.
Maggots. So there was something about, I saw an interview with the lead singer.
Corey
who's
Taylor.
there. Thank you.
Was he masked or unmasked?
I am blanking now. I think he was masked. I have a feeling he was masked. But he was talking about the maggots and how it's basically a process to metabolize death. And it's like the deep feelings of like hurt and suffering that a lot of people carry around with them, in order, like the maggots, they come and they eat up the things that are dead, and then they turn it into life. Like they basically it's a process of decomposing the things that are rotten and need to die. And hearing him talk in those terms, I was like, and then I started watching like moshing masses, like videos, and I thought that's very Ash.
Yes.
Because this is the piece, is that the trauma that they've been through as a people is something that they are in constant need of catharsis of, but also, I mean, it's slightly different, because these guys don't necessarily get to the point of healing like a lot of metalheads do. Like you were just saying, you know, a lot of the nicest people in the world are metalheads, and they're just like, "Rah!" And then it's, you know, but, and then they're so sweet and like gentle and like soft spoken, and like, you know, you're such a sweet man. Like, you know, you're,
But it's similar to you play a character, but then I meet you. I mean, I actually think Varang is sweet too, but we can get into that. But like, but like you're acting. You have to channel that. But also what you just said about loss and trauma. Varang's backstory.
Exactly.
That fits exactly into. That's kind of what I was saying about the villain aspect of it. Yes, the character is an antagonist in the story, but she's doing it from a reason of what she knows and what she's lived through and what happened to her people.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And that process was something that I really understood about metal. through like listening to and through becoming curious about it. And I wish that I could have like the feeling of like I could connect with it in my feeling.
You kind of are, though.
I mean, yes, to a degree, but I wish that I could be like, oh, and my husband's a metalhead,
Oh, that's awesome.
and it's like. Listening, and he was in a what do you know? I don't even know what it's called.
Like a
anymore.
death metal band or something?
But it was no. It's like one slightly different genre, but it's like, gosh, what's it called? Something. Oh, golly, I can't even remember the genre. But it's one of those very cathartic kind of genres of music, and I can't hear it. He was like in a band. He plays me some music on SoundCloud. I'm like, no, honey.
I don't get it. It's not my thing.
No, honey. Just go back to your carpentry. I want to hear your power tools. That's something I can connect to.
Wait, so but would you listen to the songs every time before you would go out and put the performance capture suit on? Was it that much of a?
Yeah, it was a part of my preparation for like walking onto set. So it was that. But on the way to the studio, I'd listen to powwow music, which is it's a round drum like that, and a bunch of dudes and drumming all in sync, and then the it's like it's like such a war cry. I can't imitate it, but it's from the powwow from the Native Americans when they do their like dances and stuff. So. That was like my entry point, and that I can listen to all day. Like that I could just like right now just sit and like get a sound bath. But then I graduated into the Slipknot and System of a Down and Korn as well with the right around the time where I got my dots done. Where like the dots are done. Got to go in because are we prepping? Are we revving to go? And then I'd be like, okay. And then I'd have to work myself up into a tizzy, so I'd go into it.
Wow. All right. So let's build that process. I'm so glad you brought up the drive-in, and then so for people who are watching this that might have never learned about performance capture, the reason I started a show like this is because I want people to understand filmmaking. I want the choices that go into it. Yeah. Example like you just gave about listening to music to kind of get in the headspace of a character. But performance capture is something that Sam and I talked about on the episode as well. Andy Serkis was somebody that I really kind of learned about when I was growing up watching Lord of the Rings and DVD features. And what I really wanted to get across in this episode as well with Sam and James Cameron was like performance capture is acting purely.
Oh, yeah.
And if you see these side-by-sides that Disney and Avatar have put out where you can see Oona's performance literally side-by-side with the on-the-day capture and then the actual rendered version of Varang, it is remarkable. Everything, the eyes, the nuances, the subtleties. And there's a scene I'm going to bring up specifically in a moment where I want to talk about those details, even in non-dialogue. There's so much on her face in terms of like emotional shifts. But just for the audience who might not understand performance capture particularly, once you get to that studio, you put on essentially like pajamas is like a word you'd use for it. Talk about what you're wearing and then the dots and then the camera rig. Talk about like how all of those are picking up and like what that process is and what it means.
So it's a suit that has a bunch of Velcro on, and then everybody has like identifying colors because they're all pretty uniform. And mine was red and black, obviously. And
damn right it was.
Damn right it was. And then you get little Velcroed dots that I from my understanding, and I don't understand a lot, but they are the things that the 755 million cameras on the ceiling that are just picking up the algorithms of the movement and then of your body and where your body is in space and how your body is moving. But they're a very kind of like, they give off a very rudimentary signal of what you're doing. And then there's the dots in your face that are always the same. You get a mask that's like molded to your face and always in the same place, the dots, so that they can track similarly what your face is doing and all the different muscles. And the people that designed this are like incredible because they figured out really how to understand muscular behavior on somebody's face, and everybody's face moves slightly differently. So it's a way to create a blueprint to understand the different muscles that are very subtle. Like You might go your whole life without making the same facial expression twice, just because of the different subtleties of all the pathways that there are there. And so they can track those with the two cameras that kind of look like GoPros that are on a helmet that also has little dots on it. And then my helmet had a halo, a wire headdress to kind of, so that I could have the spatial awareness of somebody that has that on their head, so I could like move when I'm like going in and out of spaces, I can move accordingly.
When she goes into the tent,
Yeah.
you know that space is above. Oh, that's
Exactly,
interesting.
so that I can behave in accord, like physically. Because if you don't have it, then adding it later, it doesn't look real, But if you behave like you have this extra, 8 inches on your periphery, then it's like you behave differently. You move through space differently. So then all of that, and that's kind of like it's like a meditation process. Really putting on that suit, and you have to be very still, and while you're getting and then you're kind of getting into the zone, because it's such a concentrated space. It's a space probably of the most intense concentration that I've ever worked in.
Is it because you don't have the environment there, essentially, the Pandora in a way? Is it because you have to be in the mindset of like where you are?
Yeah, I think it is. I don't know. It's a magic. I feel like it's a combination of factors. First of all, Jim Cameron's at the helm, and his level of concentration and focus and brain capacity, like he is keeping so many plates spinning in one time that his level of concentration, it's incredible what he's doing.
Yeah.
And so he, as the captain of the ship, kind of sets the tone. And so and then obviously, Sigourney Weaver, Zoe Saldana, like Sam Worthington, these people are masters. Steve Lang, slang. I can't call him Steve Lang.
I know.
I
always see I think his Instagram is slang, and I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, okay, I can't not call him that ever again. Yeah, it's amazing.
It's just not, he goes by slang. And so these are masters as well. And so it was really like everything, the focus, and then the stakes are really high. There's a bunch of computers, and and a lot of them go wrong every now and again, and so you have to stop. And so it's like when you're there, when everything's going, like you have to get. But then I also feel like there's an element of like the actual spirit of Awa, or the energy that is like Pandora. Like, what does it mean to be on Pandora? And then the imagination of what that is, and then the respect that everybody on that set, has for the story and the film, and the purpose really that we're working towards, which is, it's amazing to work on something that has such deep meaning and that inspires so much care from everybody that's on the set. So it's the putting on the suit, putting on the dots, all of that is a part of like the entering into that realm of concentrated imagination.
Are you shifting into her in that? Is that what you're saying? Are you becoming her in that process, or does it turn on?
You're
once
getting
he says
in the zone. You're getting in the zone.
Cool. Okay.
You're getting in the zone, and then once because sometimes sometimes I put on my suit and I was waiting all day and I wouldn't film because the other scene was taking longer, or there was some kind of technical issue or whatever, So I didn't want to because it's a lot. It was a lot of energy for me. It was a lot. It was very, very tiring to turn her on.
Yeah.
So I would reserve it till the when I was like, okay, everything's ready, everyone's ready, because then you ROM. That's one important process. Then you ROM, and which is you kind of do this choreographed series of movements into a camera that then records all of the location of your dots, and so then
So it calibrates.
yeah,
you.
it calibrates you.
Cool.
Thank you.
That's so cool. Yeah, because I was lucky to go to this studio, and for people listening, it's Manhattan Beach Studios, which is essentially where Way of Water and Fire and Ash were essentially filmed completely. I know some sections were done, I think, in New Zealand,
In Weta, yeah.
But but the cameras that Oona was referring to, if you look at the ceiling, there's like these cameras that have like 4 red dots on them, and it's picking up. And when I'm sure when you're there, but when I was there too, like you have these screens, and we could see a crude rendering or a digital version of the character.
Yeah.
Like I remember going there to watch Sam Worthington and Sigourney Weaver.
You were there on that day. Yeah,
it was
that was
incredible.
cool. Yeah.
But I was like, if Sam picked up a bottle of water while they were setting up the shot, you would see Jake Sully in the digitally, or in the rendered, not fully rendered, but like a version of the Jake Sully.
Yeah, like a rudimentary version.
It's so cool.
Yeah.
Do you remember the first time you saw a rendering of what you had done as Varang in terms of like what you did from a performance and then seeing it, like what that felt like?
Like fully rendered?
Fully rendered, and or maybe the first time you just saw
Like when you
work
saw
you
that
did.
were
Yeah.
working. Well, yes, it's an unforgettable experience. It's a totally unforgettable experience because it was the scene in the yurt, and the scene in the yurt was also my audition scene, and I really cared about that scene a lot because
It's the best scene in the film, in my opinion.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's such a great scene. I've seen that scene multiple times because they showed it that day.
Yeah, they
with
did.
the side by side.
With the side-by-side.
You were there that day with Sam and Sigourney.
I did. Like there was a couple of rounds, so I was there in that like the afternoon or something.
I must have missed you.
Yeah.
All right. Well, now you're here. So.
So there was a lot of and then we did that scene. We didn't do it that many times, and it felt like it kind of flew by. And I really cared about that scene because it was her whole reason for being the way that she is, her whole backstory, her whole moment to be able to elicit compassion and understanding from the audience and not just be like this, two-dimensional villain, And so I really cared about that scene. And I had a lot of sleepless nights after we shot it because I was like, I don't know, it kind of came and went, and I don't know if I got it, and I don't know if it was the thing. And so I was like, I think I'm just going to call Jim. I'm just going to be like, okay, can we do that scene again? I'm just going to do it. I'm just going to, and then I never did. And then we wrapped, and I was like, oh, golly. But then I was like, oh, we're going to do reshoots. We're going to, and so when we do the reshoots, then I'll see, and then I'll maybe ask him to do it again then. And so we'd go in for a reshoot, and then I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna ask him to redo it. And then we finished doing the reshoot, and I'm like, hey, Jim. And he goes, I've got to show you something. And I'm like, okay. And he goes, can you come? So he was really excited. I'd never seen him like that. He was like giddy, like a kid, And he took me to the cinema that we have in the thing, and he put their 3D glasses on, and it was like, and he showed me that scene, and it was the first one that he'd like rendered and done full, like done the whole CGI bits, and then he finished that scene, and he was like looking at me like, what'd you think? And I was like, oh my God, it totally worked. Like I said to him, I was gonna call you so many times to ask if I could reshoot it, and I'm so glad that I didn't, because it was perfect. And then seeing the side by sides, which I also watched on the day, I was like, dang, like that is amazing to me. Because sometimes when you're in the moment, in the thick of it, you don't really know what's going on, like that, and that's the truth of it for most actors, I think. Sometimes you really feel like, oh yeah, that was the good one, but a lot of times you're just doing it, and you don't really know, you don't really have like that third eye, or that looking at it from the outside. But yeah, it was really amazing to see. I felt very overwhelmed with how cool they had made me look.
Oh, I mean, the camera work in that scene.
I mean,
is there a vertigo shot almost when like the camera pulls?
Yeah, it was that thing,
especially in 3D.
Yeah.
Like this is right after essentially Stephen Lang's character gets. What do you even call what goes up his nose? I don't even know what that is.
It didn't have a name,
but it drugs him out.
Yeah,
and like
the
there's
truth serum.
The image of you, like looking up, and then that you. What's that line you say? We don't suck on the breast.
Breast of weakness.
Yeah. Oh, it's so badass.
It's so badass.
Yes, but there's a moment in that scene where I was already so into your character prior to that moment. But when we get to that scene, there's a moment I was talking about earlier about internal versus dialogue, where Stephen Lang's character, Quaritch, essentially calls you an equal. He says, this is what you need. You need an equal. And it's almost like this beautiful realization that comes over her face where she's feeling seen
Yeah.
in that way. But it's all done. Your reaction is really without dialogue. But you see your face completely shift from who she is prior to him saying it and who she is after. Can you speak about something as subtle as that? Because it lands so impactful on the audience. Can you talk about maybe your thought process of how you wanted to play with that idea of like, how can I shift her face and her tone based on what he just said?
I think for me, it was what I focus on in moments like that is really the feeling and the breath. That was my key in those moments, is to breathe, and to breathe in a way that allows for those floodgates to open and kind of feel seen, and actually the relief. And that this was the really beautiful thing about the work with slang and the work with these two, Quaritch and Varang, is that for me it's it's like so romantic.
Yeah.
It is so romantic. These people that have been, kind of white knuckling their life for so long, and have this incredibly clear code of ethics, that have incredibly clear value system, and that have, they're like, separately they're doing, like, I feel like Varang sometimes after I made dinner. I'm just like, where's my headdress? You know what I mean? Like, I'm doing what needs to be done, and like doing it with this thing, taking care of business out here, and like, obviously it's a very different scale to what she's doing.
But I
like,
get it. It's the vibe.
The vibe of like, sometimes that you make it to dinner and you're like, that took some discipline and resourcefulness. So everyone's still alive. Okay, and to finally meet somebody that you can relax and let go of the reins a little bit. Like, what a moment to really feel that. And because she's given him the truth serum, because she's drugged him up, and she knows that under the influence of these plants that she knows about, he cannot lie. And so the fact that it's coming from him, and it's exactly what she's always wanted to hear, but just not, but she hasn't wanted to hear it except when it was absolutely 100% true. So it was just the breath, of like that relief and getting a little turned on as well.
Honestly, that makes
guns. Say more. What a more.
Well, let's talk about your face in the scene when he's showing you the guns.
Yeah.
Like that, your eyes in that scene are everything. You look like a child, like who's just found like a Christmas toy or something. It's unbelievable to watch. Talk about the power of your eyes.
Well, that's exactly what Jim Cameron said.
Yeah.
He said, I want to see the girl in her. He said, I want to see her as a child, as the girl that's opening up a Christmas. I think he might have even said Christmas toy. But it's like giddy and free and kind of freshly in lust, love, like like having a crush on somebody, which is also giving you this kind of like exhilarated, not as controlled and poised all the time. It just, kind of giddy,
Kind of lets
feeling.
her guard down a little bit.
Yeah,
Even like when
exactly.
Neytiri finds her when she's sleeping, it's like she's comfortable.
Yeah.
Quaritch has just walked away.
Yeah.
You would assume whatever they were doing, but then
Yeah.
but it is an interesting thing. It's like it's almost like the guard comes down.
Yeah.
Slightly.
Yeah, exactly. And so, and then also this moment for her that is, everything that Awa has represented in her life has been about constriction and disappointment and, obeying all of these rules that Awa clearly states, these very, very simple laws of abiding by her ways, on this moon. But one of them is metal. Like touching metal even can be very poisonous. And so here are these metal things that make this loud sound that is like her favorite Slipknot track. And then they make fire, they make thunder, they kill people. They are so efficient. They're as efficient as she's always wanted to be about, gaining power, and then they're metal and they're fucking cool. Excuse my language.
No,
but
curse all you
they're-
want.
Okay,
Yeah.
good. Thanks. Okay, rings.
Please. No,
okay.
curse, yeah. Come on.
All bets are off now. I
Fan.
guess
Are you
we're like
kidding
a
me?
sailor. So I'm just trying to
Go,
keep
go,
it.
go.
But you know, it's so incredible. All of these things wrapped up into one, and they have been given to her by this guy that seems to be like her knight in shining armor. So it's a moment of like pure joy. And so I'm never thinking about like the eye, like, you know, it's just trying to get into the feeling of what things mean to the character. And like this, and it was really the childlike quality really came in through Jem saying like, I want to see her, the girl in her. I want to see her as a giddy girl. And I was like, oh, okay, you know, I could definitely access that a lot more than the other stuff that I'm doing. So let's go, you know. And it was such a beautiful. And then watching it is so powerful because then you see like that scene. I hadn't forgotten about it, but I'd forgotten about it within the context of the film. I wasn't really thinking about that scene, but when I saw it, it was very powerful for me because I imagined. Like the amount of times in our history, in our world, even now, it's happening. You know, countries that have military weaponry are arming other countries to defend themselves, or to, you know, to support them through these instruments of death, and oftentimes they are put in the hands of, you know, giddy girls or children, you know, and or people that have a lot of unresolved issues and rage and trauma, you know, and it's so powerful to see that happen on a big screen like that, and to watch, like, you know, my toes were just like curling as this scene was happening. I was like, oh my God, what? Like, they don't know what they have in their hands right now. Like, they don't know. This is like, it's like the most dangerous kind of ignorance in this moment. But anyway, it's a lot to say about that scene. But then, you know, and then contrasting that with like, you know, like, oh my God, I love this, baby. You know, this is so beautiful. Like, you know, flamethrower, everything. Like her dreams are coming true.
Yeah, it's
so messed up.
It's so messed up, but it's also like we can't look away.
Yeah.
I couldn't look away.
Yeah.
And it's interesting, like speaking of the eyes as well, there's a great, before the yurt moment, there's that great scene when Stephen Lang's character Quaritch arrives and he has the sniper take out one of the Ash people.
Yeah.
And he says, drop him, right?
Yeah.
And then you immediately clock the sniper.
Yeah.
Again, the eyes.
Yeah.
Like you know exactly where that sniper is. That's another use of eyes, as I'm saying. But again, it doesn't sound like it's super conscious. It's just more of like she's dialed in.
Well, that moment was because there was it was like, we need to understand why Varang is the leader that she is. And ultimately, she is the military leader, but she's also the Tsahik. Like, there's another moment that isn't as clear in the movie, but when after... It's okay to do spoilers here, right?
We're in
spoiler territory.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so after Spider has been given the gift of breath in here, there's a moment where all the guys come in, the Ash come in, and then Varang kind of puts her hand, just raises her hand on the floor, and she goes, "It was the girl." And it's not as clear. And there was something, you know, I think it was partly my diction, but partly just like a lot of other things happening. And we need to understand that she knows that she has this gift of sight. She is a Tsahik. She is a spiritual leader as well as ever. So she's very, very gifted, intuitive, like a survivor, and a person who's challenged herself and who's been disciplined enough in her own life to really become very skilled and masterful with the gifts that she's been naturally given. So there's like that moment with she knows exactly, everyone else is like, you know, like with their bows and arrows, and she's just like, boom. And she looks directly at this guy and she's like, I see you. And then she sees the little comms that he has around his neck, and she's like, I see this too. Come inside my tent, you know? Like, I mean, she's really smart.
That death stare she gives, it's so incredible because she clocked him. It was so perfect. I mean, and it's crazy because like I'm sitting across from you and like obviously I met you before we did the interview, but then even now you'll enter the character a little bit just in terms of finding her. I know I'm hoping we get more of the character, but do you miss being her? Like it sounds like she does come back to you, like when I don't know if when you're driving or like I don't know, when does she come back sometimes?
She
because you shot this in what, like 2017, 2019?
Yeah, 2017 to 2018. She taught me so much about commanding a space. She taught me so much about taking up space. She taught me a lot about leadership and discipline and rigor and values and integrity. It's like she had so many lessons for me. Like getting to know her and getting to become her was a very, very huge gift for my life. And it, I definitely I take her for a walk every now and again.
Do you?
Just to feel the confidence and like the kind of confidence that she has, the kind of command that she has.
You physically walk like her when you take her for a walk?
Yeah, like I'll be going on a hike, and people that know me and that know this part of my life, they'll be like, she goes there, she's taking Varang for a hike, because you just start moving differently, kind of like getting the body awareness and like the connectedness, the full embodiment, the confidence, the strength, the determination that she has. There's like it's a very beautiful character. Just her with the way that she walks, for me, is like if just doing that, it gives me a good boost of like, okay, I think I can make it to dinner, like we were talking about. But then there's also been moments with I have a toddler, I have a 2.5-year-old, and every now and again, like I'll hiss.
Oh, like the
yeah. When I'm like, I want her to understand that is off limits, off bounds. That's and even when she was a baby, then she'd be nursing, and every now and again that she'd like bite, and I'd be like, that is a no-go, and so I'd hiss, and she understood right away.
Wow.
And it's like when mommy does that, it's like everything goes kunk kunk, and it's like that's not happening. So what is?
So she's picking up on the energy.
Oh yeah, no. It's like a clear-cut line. Because I'm usually like, no, there's different ways that I say no, because I'm like, I don't want you to do that. I don't like it when you do that. This is not safe. Or,
oh my God.
And then, so she understands the different kinds of no's, and she'll respond. She's very smart.
I love when you and Zoe have the
hissing fit.
It's so great to watch. It's so great to watch. And it's interesting because like the technology, obviously, what I love about this conversation we're having right now is we just went into like 20 minutes about just performance. And there wasn't even the performance captured discussion. It was just the acting of the character. And obviously we're sitting here right now. People want to see more of these. I know that James Cameron was saying like, if it doesn't do well, I don't know what's going to happen, but it's obviously doing extremely well. Have you done anything for 4 or 5? Have you read anything? Have you already started prepping for where she is? I'm just curious if you.
I've read some of it. I've read my parts of 4 and 5.
Awesome. Do they go to Earth? That's what I heard. I think Simon said that it's going to be on Earth in the 5th one or something. I don't know if that's true or not, but I guess we can't say anything. But you have. I'm
just checking for snipers because these people are powerful.
Jim's over there right now. But before so you've read 4 and 5. That's interesting.
Yeah, just my parts.
How do you feel about where she goes?
I'm curious. I don't know. I'm curious. I've forgotten a lot of it, to be honest. It was a long time ago, and like things like it'll come back to me in conversation if we get around to it. But like the pieces around Varang is I'm very very excited to understand the way that this new realm of because she's never been strategic. She's never had strategy. She's always been in fight or flight since the volcano, at least, And so meeting Quaritch and understanding his notion of strategy and what that does to her mind. I'm very excited to kind of venture into those realms and see what. And also, like, at what point does like does like Quaritch's legacy, which has been this, this what do you call it? This like archetypical, Jake Sully and Quaritch,
That's why this one was so great, because I like that they teamed up in certain scenes.
Yes.
Because they would, because they're parents.
Yeah, but there's still a legacy of archetypical rivalry. Like it's almost like, what's going to happen now? Yeah. Like where do the archetypes dance now? And so I'm very curious. I really, really, really hope that we make 4 and 5.
Me too.
I'm really holding a prayer for that, because for me, like, yes, there's a lot of 3 that is like a resolution of 2 and 3 that are like, there is certain things that are completed, but there's a lot that is unresolved for me. I would love to understand the fallout of what going to war does to the Tulkun, who have broken thousands of years of tradition of understanding what it is to be peaceful, and what going into battle does to those people, because that is a very, very, very strong moment. It was for me anyway. It's like, what is going to, like, how are they going to make it through?
Right. What happens to them? Yeah.
What happens to those guys that have now fought, and who are they now? What does that do to them?
It changes them. Yeah, you're right.
They can no longer have those principles because they've broken them. Or how do they heal the trauma of going into battle? What does that do? So I'm very curious to understand that. And like, there's a bunch of pieces that I'm like, we need more, guys.
Yeah, this really, really does have to happen. And one of the things that's interesting about seeing this film, and obviously the performance that you give, and everybody's incredible in it. But when we watch these films, the idea of grief and trauma really, to me, resonate extremely. They're really big parts of the story. Can you, just for people who may not have seen the film or maybe not know exactly a ton of her backstory, give the audience a little insight into with the volcano and kind of where she is at when we meet her.
So she was the Mangkwan that are the ash. They are very much like the Omaticaya, or like the what are the other ones? The Metcaina. They're kind of in that realm. They belong to they live near a volcano, so the volcano's probably been a part of their life and mythos and way for as long as they've lived there. But there's a moment where the volcano erupts and destroys everything, kills life, because Ewa is the goddess of life, right? Of biological life. And so with the lava and the ash and the fire, there's too many layers of inert material for Ewa to have, for people to have access to Ewa. So food doesn't grow, trees don't grow. So there's like, everything was just destroyed. A lot of people probably died. And, Varang, who's the daughter of the Tsahik, she is in a terrible state, I imagine, just as everybody else. But instead of going into despair or seeking help elsewhere, what she does is she goes straight to the source of what caused her grief and her pain, which is the fire in the mountain. And then she becomes its student. And she kind of uncovers a mythology that is, she uncovers a new version of an old mythology on Pandora. And so she becomes different. And she, so she basically starts behaving like the fire. And she does the ash people, the way they fight, the way they move, the way that they are like a wildfire. They are the lava. They are like super unpredictable and completely indiscriminate in their paths. And they just will leave a wake of destruction, irrespective of any story or whatever, it's like when the lava rolls through, there's nothing that stands a chance, really. If you're in the way, you're done. So, and then they also, because they don't have anything in their land, they can't grow their food, they can't do, so they take from other people. And so they've been in this place of like surviving, surviving based on taking out from other people. And, you know, she's got a lot of rage. She doesn't like Ewa. She feels abandoned by the Great Mother. They all do. They all have this very tragic kind of disconnection with the All Mother that other people feel very connected. And she's basically discovered that the All Mother has a power that can defeat her, and so she's not all that powerful anyway. And so the power that can defeat her is the fire. So she becomes that. She's like,
it's complicated.
Yeah.
That's what I want people to understand. It's not, I mean, like, I don't really like the term villain sometimes because I think you forget the reason why that character might be doing the things they're doing. And maybe they are seeking a catharsis and a therapeutic way of trying to right the wrongs that have happened.
Yeah, and I think that's the piece that's really interesting about her, that is she does have the right idea. She goes to the source of her pain, which I think if you have pain, you know, as a human being, we all will at some point. If you have pain, then it's good to go to the source of that pain and look at it and understand what it is. But then she doesn't go to it with the wanting to heal it. You know, she goes to it wanting to understand how to become as destructive as that, because there isn't a cauldron, there isn't like a place where she can heal her, that she doesn't have like that place, that container to feel her grief. Like she is in that fight or flight. And it's just a classic case of hurt people. Yeah. But going to the fire is the right idea. It's just, it's unresolved.
Right. And then also she's being like, you know, when she meets Stephen Lang, it's like the lust part of it starts to essentially kind of like throw her off a little bit in a way. And like, it's so interesting. I want to talk about music because the score that, James Cameron over the years, True Lies, Aliens, Brad Feidel's score on T2, James Horner's original Avatar score, Simon's score here. You've been scored by some incredible composers, even on Game of Thrones. Like you've had some amazing music set to performances you've done. This is a question I often ask on the show, but what is your relationship to hearing your performances set to music? In the sense of like, I know generally the music's not there on set. Sometimes some filmmakers have it. But I have to imagine it reveals something to you about the work you did, or it enhances it in some way. I'm curious what that experience is for you emotionally.
Well, I play music almost every day. You know, we're a musical family. We're not professional musicians by any stretch of the imagination, but we do like to play music, and we do like to play music with our friends. We have a lot of musicians that roll through our house and play there. So music is a part of my life, you know, like that part of the thing that I live for really is this aspect of music. And so I definitely pay a very close attention to the scoring of this. And I actually spoke to Simon a lot. We became friends on this show, and I was very interested and continued to be in him as a genius that he is, because he like invented musical instruments for the, it's just like, he invented musical instruments that can be played by people that have 3 fingers and a thumb.
Wait, really?
Yeah, no. Like, you know that jig scene in the Wind Traders?
Yes.
That little jig?
Yeah.
So he was like, okay, we have to create music for this little jig, which is like 30 seconds on the screen. Maybe not even, maybe like 13. And he was like, okay, so instruments that would be culturally appropriate for people that travel the way that these guys do. So they'd have to be mobile instruments, easy to travel with. There's probably a fair amount of winds and fiddle-like things. And so he took instruments from, all over the world, looked at them, studied them, went, okay, I'm now designing something that is culturally relevant and alive for the Wind Traders, and that can be played by people that have 3 fingers and a thumb. Okay, and so he designed them then sent them off to get 3D printed, and then composed music for those instruments.
I mean, it's insane. That is
It's
unbelievable. That is so cool.
That he wrote like 1,900 pages of score for this film.
Simon's score.
It's out of this world.
That blows my mind.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that.
No.
That's so cool. What about her theme?
Well, her theme, he called, and he has dubbed. I don't know what it'll be called when the music gets published, but her theme, when she gets the gun, when she sees the gun and she's holding the gun, he calls, I'm just a girl standing in front of a gun asking it to love her.
You're joking. You're joking.
Not even joking.
This is like a Julia Roberts, You've Got Mail reference.
No, Notting Hill.
Notting Hill.
Notting
yeah.
Hill.
What?
So his whole thing was his like the dark romance of really Varang and the guns. Even more so, then he like adapted that theme to the relationship with Steve Lang. But yeah, I talked to him a lot about music. I would love to participate in the recording of the next ones, just to kind of like be a part of the choir or something. Like, it's so cool
That's
to
the
be
best
like
song title I've ever heard in my life.
I know, right?
Like,
I hope that he actually names it that when it gets published.
While you were saying it, I was thinking of Julia Roberts in the bookstore saying it to Hugh Grant.
Yeah.
I'm like, I've been to that bookstore in London. I don't know if they filmed it there, but like I'm obsessed with that film. So,
yeah.
But I know we have to get out of here. I just have a couple more things I want to run by you, because we talked at the beginning about your parents, and they went to the Paris premiere, you said.
Mm-hmm.
What is your mom and dad's perspective on current technology and filmmaking? Because like your mom and dad come from a different era of filmmaking.
Yeah.
And to see you on screen in, as a CG character, but obviously you gave the full performance, and I imagine they completely understand exactly what you did and brought to it and how it was done. But what is it like for them to see this new tech in Hollywood, and is it strange?
They understand nothing.
Really? They don't, but they know that you're behind the character.
I mean, they do, and I've sent them photos and I've told them about it. But I mean, they haven't seen. They're you can't teach old drugs new tricks in that way. Like they haven't seen Avatar 1, they haven't seen Avatar 2. So I asked my mom in the middle of the film. I was like, sort of 30 minminutes, and
they have 3D glasses on while they're watching it.
Oh
too?
yeah. But my mom was born in 1944, so I'm like, Mom, do you understand what's happening? And she's like, huh? No. And I'm like, okay, do you want me to catch you up? She's like, no, it's okay. It's too late for me, darling. She goes, but you're the best thing in the movie. I'm like, Mom, we're 30 minutes in. She's like, I know, but you are.
You haven't even gotten to the yurt scene
I
yet.
know, it's like
I'm like, what? Like, but they have. I would imagine it's just got to be so surreal for them to see this new technology that we're working in. But what you do in this movie is really no different than what your mom did in Dr. Zhivago in terms of becoming a character and being a performance.
I mean, it is different, and it isn't it? Because it's like, for me, it's much more akin to theater, or to like poor theater, like you're not like, there's a skill to knowing how to milk your close-up that you don't necessarily need in this. There's like the techniques and the skills of knowing where the camera is that some people really have, that that isn't something that you need on this. And also for this, you need a depth of like commitment and imagination that perhaps some screen actors wouldn't find that easy. And so it's the same, and also it's different. I think it's like it is an evolution. I think it's closer to theater, but then you gotta have like the movie like vibe as well, because it's like it's also still a blockbuster. So I don't know how similar it is, but she loved what I did. I think she would love anything that I do, so I don't know if that's a very good judge of like.
She has
just
a pretty important perspective.
She does,
what she's done.
But she's blinded with her daughter.
Sure.
Like my parents are the kind of parents that it's like I get up, they're like, oh, look at her,
Same.
and I sit down, they're like, oh, look at her. I'm like, I have a glass of water, look at her. They're so proud. So it's like, take all of it with a pinch of salt. But what I did think was amazing was that they sat through the whole thing, and my mom then got up. She's in her 80s. My dad's in his 80s, and she didn't throw up. She didn't have a headache. It was like she was able to live through the experience and actually enjoy it to the best of her ability, I'd say, which was remarkable. But I think that in terms of the film and the technology, what I did talk to her afterwards was like, I spoke to her about the similarities that I think James Cameron and Charlie Chaplin have, which I wanted to get her read on it, and she thought it was true, and the way that I think they're similar is that they're both innovators. They're both working with the cutting edge technology of their time. If you think about what the cinema would have done to people that were theatrical, connoisseurs at the time, they would have been mortified. These actors, they can repeat their lines over and over again. You're not even there. You can't even feel it's all lies. It's all, fake, So the perception of cinema and what that would have been at the inception of cinema would have been, I think similar to what this kind of CGI world is now in 3D and what have you. So they're both innovators. They're both working the tools of the time and really pushing the boundaries of the tools of the time, doing a bunch of stunts that were very innovative. My grandfather did a lot of innovation in the stunt reality, but then they're great unifiers because James Cameron is as passionate about getting to the heart of the story as Charlie Chaplin was, I think. And they're very different in their approach. Charlie Chaplin made the whole world laugh and cry together at a time where it was not, where we were very divided and where we were war-torn, and somehow unified us. And I think James Cameron is doing the same because, in the cinemas here, you said, going to the cinema, sitting down with a bunch of strangers, a lot of whom you would disagree with on politics, on religion, on what it means to be an American, on what it means to be an artist. You'd have violent disagreements with. But ultimately, you're sitting down in the cinema and everybody's blue. Everybody turns into a Na'vi. We all become Na'vi. So he's unified the world in that. And so I think they're very similar. And so I talked to her about that, and she was like, yeah, I see your point. I do understand what you're saying. It's a different flavor. But
I'm getting teary-eyed just thinking about that. It's what a beautiful way you explain that. Just like the through line and the legacy of cinema and the unification that it does then and now.
Yeah.
It's the universal language.
Yeah.
It's so beautiful the way you put that. That was incredible.
I mean, I'm just talking about what I see. They're the ones that are doing it. That's incredible. To have a film right now in this moment that can be as uplifting and inspiring and unifying across all kinds of fake, illusory divisions that we have right now that's remarkable for me. James Cameron is doing something that I'm very, very happy to be a part of.
He also challenges the audiences too. It's beautiful to watch. All right, couple rapid fires, then I'll get you out of here. Because I told you at the beginning, the character commanded my presence immediately, and I just never let go until the credits started rolling. Who's a performance and a character that did that for you?
Whoa, there's so many.
Give me a couple.
Oh my golly gosh. Oh no. Okay. Heath Ledger's Joker, 100%. Idris Elba in Beasts of No Nation. Meryl Streep and anything that she does, really. But I was specifically thinking of Mamma Mia, which is a little bit genre breaking as we're talking. But
I know what you mean.
She's
Devil Wears Prada, too.
Devil Wears Prada. Oh my God. Matthew McConaughey and the whole of True Detective.
That one-er in episode 4 or 6, whatever it is, when the one shot.
God!
Oh, it's like one of the most incredible one-ers I've ever seen in my entire life.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
I mean, there's so many. This is the thing, is that at this point, we could talk for 3 hours just on the
Just on
amount of
that.
performances that there are that are brilliant. And so I'm very honored that you think that you liked what I did.
Oh, you are in that level for sure, 100%. Movie you wish you could rewatch again for the first time, meaning you lose all
Never
memory.
seen it. Limelight.
Why?
Because I think it speaks. There's something about the clown that I'm completely in love with the clown as an archetype. I don't have my water bottle here, but I have the fool as a sticker in my water bottle because it just the clown, the fool, like this this archetype is for me the most wise and passionate, and like the one that I want to learn from the most. And just seeing a clown at the end of his life and seeing, the love for the purity and the kind of unlivable fantasy of youth and love and loneliness. I mean, the whole film from right now in my life, like I would love to watch that now for the first time.
Just experience it again.
Yeah.
Favorite film score or a score that comes to mind first?
Modern Times.
Oh, okay. Why that one?
There's the boxing scene.
Yeah.
Sorry, is that City Lights?
No, I'm thinking
That's City
City
Lights.
Lights. Yeah, boxing scene, City Lights.
Boxing scene, City
The
Lights.
music in that.
Oh, come on.
Yeah.
I want to clean my house to that music
Yes.
every time. You know what I mean? Like that music is so energizing.
Yeah.
It's just like. Dun, 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 dun.
Did you get into Buster Keaton at all? Like any of his?
No, I'm very illiterate when it comes to Buster Keaton.
Oh, he's.
But I mean, he was in Limelight.
In that
you know?
same. Yeah, exactly.
So-
Yeah, it's a good point. Yeah.
Yeah.
Favorite shot in cinema history.
Okay. There's a few. The one that's coming to mind now is the Shape of Water. There's one scene where there's like a transition scene where like the drop of water. I can't even remember. I can't even describe it to you right now.
Toro.
But I remember feeling that scene and then going back and watching it again. Just that transition into the there's a drop of water that turns into something else. Anyway, that one.
And then, do you have a favorite movie memory that you saw with friends or family? Like going to a theater, seeing it with your friends and family, and then talking about the movie afterwards?
Oh. I mean, is it lame to say Avatar Fire and Ash?
No, please.
Because that was like, so I saw that 3 times. One in LA with my crew from over here. Once in London. I lived in London for 15 years, so I had like my old friends, and like I didn't even watch it. Then I just kind of came into the audience and just hugged all my friends. And then one of my friends was like, "Oh," because the Ash Attack of the Wind Traders had just come on, and so I just left the screen, and there I was like on the floor, like hugging them in my gown, and he was like, "Oh, you just did something very bad." He's like, "Are you the dick in the movie?" I was like, "Yeah, I'm the dick in the movie." He's like, "Oh, all right, good to know." and then obviously watching it with my mom and dad, and just for me, that whole Paris trip was really like so magical in very many ways. I was staying at the Bristol where my grandfather had stayed, where my mother had stayed, going into the film there with my mom on the red carpet, people asking her for autographs, and then watching the film, and then my parents then going back to the hotel, and the next day hanging out with my daughter. So it was like this whole way that just was very, very special to me. And hearing about all of the people and what my friends, all of the conversations that have been sparked by this film for me have been really interesting. I think it does ask really big questions in a very fun way. It's a total thrill ride, roller coaster, wonderful adventure, but it also goes into really the depths of big questions that we have to ask as a species right now.
Yeah, I agree. Well, I just want to say this has been incredibly special to have you in studio. You should be very proud of the work you did. Thank you for sharing everything you shared. It's just so interesting to get into the headspace of your process. It's one of the best performances I've seen in a long time. And thank you for coming here today to chat with me. So
thank you so much. It's such a pleasure. Thanks for all the good questions and for letting me talk.
Of course. Thank you.
Thanks.
Appreciate it.